All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to class 6, if you can believe it. And this is going to be a fun one today. We are going to be playing with Tonalist color palettes. So this is a lot of fun. This is a lot of experimentation, a lot of playing. And, I was thinking, like, as I was prepping for today's class, I was like, you know what, maybe I should have started with this one. Maybe this would have been a great one for class 1. But I think it's all kind of been working its way up towards this because, of course, everything is so dependent on the values, the lights and the darks, and that's what gives us our structure and form. And now that, once you've kind of got that established, or at least the idea of how to establish that, then we get to have so much fun and really begin to experiment and play with color. In my next class, little advertising here, in my next class, we will be focusing on color and using a full, spectrum color palette. But this week we will be talking about tonalist colors, so much more muted, much more earthy, or just kind of really leaning in towards a nice color harmony. I will be experimenting as well as sharing some of my favorite ones, but there's like a couple color palettes that I thought would be a lot of fun just to kind of see. And this is my opportunity to pull out some tubes of paint that I don't always use or hardly ever use. So when I show you my palette, I've pulled out a whole bunch of different colors that are not typical to my palette. And what I like to do, one of the big things I think about when contemplating colors for a tonalist or a more muted or a more harmonious palette, and I want to experiment, is I will substitute. So you usually want a yellow, a red, and a blue on your palette, right? That just kind of gives you the biggest spectrum. That's how you make your color wheel. My typical color palette is what's called a split primary. So yeah, today there'll be a good opportunity to take a lot of notes, and whichever one of you takes the best notes, please share them with the class, because I'm not going to be writing all this down while I'm teaching. So if you kind of come up with a couple good notes, that'd be great to share if you don't mind. But so a red, a yellow, a blue, and then for me with my split primary palette, I usually use one yellow that leans towards green, and one yellow that leans towards orange, one red that leans towards orange, one red that leans towards purple, one blue that leans towards purple, and one blue that leans towards green. A lot of instructors will talk about having a warm and a cool of each primary, which also works. And you're inevitably going to kind of have that. I just find that it's easier for me to discuss colors in saying that it leans towards one or the other, because we can have arguments all day about which is the warmer blue or which is the warmer, is red warmer or yellow warmer and things like that.
Michael, excuse me.
Yes,
Can you repeat that? I can't write that fast. One yellow that leans towards green and the other one leans towards.
I'm sorry, what was that? A yellow?
A yellow that leans towards green, and just please repeat.
Yeah, what would be the other secondary that a yellow would make? So yellow and red makes orange, and then yellow and blue makes green. So that's kind of how yep, I'm going to grab my color wheel. Very good. If you peek up there, Michelle's got her color wheel up there. And yeah, so and we'll go over that in
Michelle. Okay.
We'll go over that.
There's the split primaries, because like at the top, there's the yellow that is greenish yellow, and then the Indian yellow that looks orange, but it's actually yellow, and you can see kind of that little trail where I mixed in white, and so it's leaning towards orange. Those are the split primaries there with the different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Michelle.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I will grab my color wheel that's not even nearly as beautiful as Michelle's. And we'll talk about that here. Actually, I'll go ahead and grab it now because it actually goes towards what I want to talk about.
Michelle, did you make your color wheel or did you buy it? Oh.
So this is what we will be making. And if you join me in the color theory class starting in
I think
January.
it's January 11th.
January 11th. Oh, and the class just went, you can actually sign up for it as of yesterday. So anybody that's interested, I'll do my best to make you interested in this next 5 minutes. So hopefully you'll sign up through Oregon Society of Artists for our winter class here. I always like to joke that, you know, it's a lot of fun to work with bright colors in the cold gray winter months if you're in the Pacific Northwest. So it's a really nice opportunity. This palette here, this really looks like a black, but that's actually an ultramarine blue, is the palette that I started painting with. This was a challenge from my instructor in college. A lot of you have probably heard of him. His name was Thomas Kitts. He used to teach at the Oregon Society, no, not Oregon Society of Artists, that's where I teach. He used to teach at Pacific Northwest College of Art, and he was my illustration teacher. And towards the end, right before I graduated, he kind of challenged me to go to a very, very limited palette, one red, one yellow, and one blue. And it's great. You really do get a lot of nice harmonies using just a single primary of each. But as you can see, like, it's almost impossible to make a really beautiful, bright green because ultramarine leans towards purple. So you already have a little bit of a red in it. So to make a bright green, you don't want red in it, right? You want just yellow and blue. And then the red I used was a cad red medium, and it leans towards orange, makes beautiful oranges, but it has a touch of yellow. So it makes just the worst purples. I mean, seriously hideous purples. You know, luckily purple doesn't exist a huge amount in nature, but anyways, I did this for probably a year, maybe a little longer. But during that time, and when I started teaching, I realized that by using a split primary, that's what we were just talking about, Susan, one yellow that leans towards green, one yellow that leans towards orange. And it can be any, you know, like sometimes I'm using an Indian yellow here, sometimes I'm using a cadmium yellow medium, cadmium yellow deep, even a yellow ochre sometimes. But so I don't really care all the time which colors my students choose for their split primary, or I'm not super regular about that. My blues stay really consistent. My reds are fairly consistent, but my yellows are kind of all over the place. And oftentimes I'll have more than even 2 yellows. But so this is what we'll talk about in there. This is trying to create kind of a CMYK color palette like a computer would use, which is really interesting that you actually create a blue when you get the, what color would that be? Kind of a phthalo-y blue-green mixed with the cool red. It actually makes the blue shows up here, which I found really interesting. And then also with the yellow, the red starts to show up right about here, becomes a purer red. But
Which
anyways, that's
colors
just,
are those?
gosh, I would have to do a bit more research. I should have written that down. We'll write it down next time we do it in our color theory class. That was a little bit experimental. I got really excited and wanted to do paintings with those colors, but I have not, but it sure would be an interesting, fun experiment. So remind me, and maybe we can do something with that in our next class. Over here, anybody know what this palette's called? Michelle does.
Zorn.
Zorn palette, yeah. So Zorn was famous for this palette, even though he did use other colors. But this is a great experiment. For any of you who are doing the homework this week and are just kind of at a loss for which color palette they might want to experiment with, this is a beautiful one and really does some strange and interesting things. In fact, give me 1/2 second and I'll grab the painting that we did in class. I just saw it. So this was the painting that kind of came from me using the Zorn palette last year.
Oh, wow.
Very, yeah, it's just,
Gorgeous.
and doesn't that look kind of bluish? But there's no blue in the color palette. It's actually an ivory black or a Mars black or some kind of a black. I may have even used a Payne's gray. I don't remember for sure, but it looks like I used a black because Payne's gray doesn't get quite as dark. But yeah, it's a really beautiful color palette, and it's kind of does these interesting tricks where it tricks the eye into making colors that aren't there. So again, these will oftentimes, the grays will appear to be blue when they're next to all the yellow ochres and reds. So anyways, it's a fun experiment, fun way to paint. So again, back to the Zorn palette, that made me, you know, after experimenting with that and playing with that, that made me think, well, what if I used a, let's say a brown, a reddish brown instead of my red? Or what if I used Indian yellow instead of here, or whatever else? So oftentimes I will experiment with a red, a yellow, and, you know, for Zorn, it's a black, but, you know, and a blue, and just see what happens by using colors that are not the typical. So again, I could substitute a brown for here, any of the yellows for here, any blue, black, or gray for here. One thing that I would probably experiment with in the future, and maybe I will even today, is using a chromatic black as well. So if I used, let's say, like a phthalo blue, some crazy color that I never would touch because I'm terrified of it, or even let's say like a phthalo green as my blue, would be a really interesting choice. But with a chromatic black, and that's made by Gamblin, and white, you can actually create a value scale, like a couple different values, you know, a light gray, a mid gray, and a dark gray with that. And you can mix those, the chromatic black grays with any colors, and it retains a lot of the color strength, but you just get these interesting variations of value. So that's kind of a fun way to experiment with that. So this is kind of what I want to talk about today, is what if we chose just different colors for our red, yellow, and blue, and looking to the harmony that you get from that, because you just can't go too crazy. You can't get too vibrant usually. I mean, I can make some really beautiful, vibrant, you know, red areas. And of course, all these palettes would include white as well. All right, does that make sense, you guys? All right, hopefully I didn't scare you away from joining us this winter. So that's what we'll be doing, is playing with different types of palettes, color palettes, using different colors. And I know that I'm kind of jumping the shark a little bit, getting ahead of us, since we haven't really talked about, you know, full on color mixing, but we'll come back to that next semester. All right. Let's go ahead, and I'm going to share video. I'm going to jump over and I will tell you the sad story of this painting behind me. What do you guys think of that pinky purple painting right there behind me? It's kind of my Monet.
I like it.
All right, well, let's.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Thank you. All right, let's pop over here. Everybody sees our Tonalist Painting Class with a new header. Is that yours, Rick? I don't remember whose painting that was.
Mine.
But very nice. We had Yvonne's painting on there up until this morning, and so I'll just keep adding paintings on there. And if you guys are okay, I'm going to go ahead and pop this open. And I think I. All right. Woo, wow. Hello, everybody. Today's video I'm going to do is me trying my best to fix this horrible paint. So I'm going to completely change. I'm going to cover every square inch of it using the weirdest color palettes I've ever used. Lots of grays, with a little bit of Michael Harding's brilliant pink. But mostly I want this to be a gray tone painting. Quick story
That's
is,
the same painting?
yeah. Without planning and without clear idea, and I hate it, and it haunts me, and it haunts my studio. And so I just figured, you know what? Let's go for it. Let's just cover it. Let's have fun. Grab a couple crazy brushes here with really long bristles, and I'm just having a good time. All right, put it on quick.
You used a lot of paint.
A lot of paint for me, yeah. Really thick for me, so it was a lot of fun. All right. So yeah, inevitably when I posted that, about half the comments were, I liked it better before. But you know, I've told the story before about rushing into paintings and being too, I don't know if arrogant's the right word or cocky or whatever, but just really getting ahead of myself. And let's see if I can go to the beginning of it and show the painting. It just, why won't it go there? Let's see where it is. Oh, so it's just about ready to show it. Anyways, it wasn't well designed, and that was everything. It didn't have a good value structure, had pretty colors and nice kind of, anyways, can't really see it. I'm blocking it on purpose, I imagine. And so it was almost there, but not quite there. And I could, you know, I was just sitting with it for months, and it just kind of sat in my studio and made me sad. Never, you know, usually my paintings will kind of eventually tell me what they want or what they need. And this one never did. So I just decided, I think I even titled it Time to Go Monet on this mother. And so I just attacked it, and it was a lot of fun. It was very cathartic, and, you know, it's therapy for myself. And, you know, if I killed it, that was fine. And I wasn't ever even sure. That's actually been sitting in my studio like this behind me here for quite some time. And anyways, I had a lot of fun. I got to use colors I wouldn't normally use. And so there's the story of that. I went ahead and this morning posted 3 different artists. They're all, you know, modern day living artists, some more experimental than others. And if I could find the color palettes that they use, I went ahead and posted that, and some of the notes about the colors that they start their paintings with. I was really surprised how full of palettes that each one of these artists actually use, meaning they use a lot of color, a lot of different tubes of paint, which was really interesting. So the first gentleman here is Dennis Sheehan. Pull up one of his paintings. We've used his paintings as examples in class before. They're, you know, they're kind of like the epitome of tonalism, really nice, subtle, usually just trees, a little bit of water. And I even put a Pinterest page. Did that pop up for you guys?
Yes.
Okay, so if any of you are on Pinterest, I went ahead and posted my page, which has like 4,000 images I've collected, and some of them are organized. But here's a bunch of Dennis Sheehan's work. So you can go and just explore you find any of these artists worth, exploring more. So Dennis Sheehan, I'll just read you what I put on there really quickly. The quote I grabbed of his is, "The main objective of my current approach is through landscape, express feelings and sentiments that reach deep within the heart and soul of the human experience." From what I've gathered, he starts, like his underpainting is typically done with phthalo green and transparent red oxide. Or would be a transparent earth red if you're using the Gamblin colors. And earth red, yeah, that's right. So you just look on the back and see if it's a red oxide. Every brand has different versions of that. It's a beautiful color. I start a lot of my paintings with just the red oxide as my underpainting color, or red oxide and ultramarine blue. So I was kind of surprised to see the phthalo green, but it kind of explains things, and it does a lot of the same things that mine do, with the ultramarine being my cool. His phthalo green would be his cool, and his transparent red oxide would be his warmer areas. And then when they're mixed together, they make a very, very dark color. And in fact, Gamblin's black is made with phthalo green and quinacridone red mixed, actually. What also surprised me is the amount of colors that he I don't know if he uses these all the time or if these are just the colors that he likes, but his list of colors was titanium white. You don't have to write these down, Susan. They're all on the Facebook page. And I was just surprised. Phthalo white, cad yellow hue, Hansa yellow deep, cad orange hue, which I found a number of the artists that I looked up used cadmium orange. I own a tube of cadmium orange, but I never use it. Maybe I should experiment with that. Cadmium red hue, alizarin crimson, permanent green light. That's a color I don't think I've ever bought. Phthalo green, which is a wonderful color, especially when you want to get to the more springtime greens. It makes the most vibrant green you can imagine. Transparent red oxide, which he uses to counteract probably that brightness of that phthalo green. Raw sienna, which yeah, beautiful color. Another one I don't use, Severus blue. I've never owned that color. I'm not even positive what it is. Does anybody know what Severus blue is? Nope. All right. Ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, and ivory black. So interesting combination of colors. He definitely likes his paintings to have an old world feel to them. He talks about Rembrandt and stuff like that. So anyways, there's that. If you click on this, it'll just quickly take you to an interview and some more of his work. So if that's interesting and you want to do a little more research on him, feel free. David Sharp, one of my favorite more abstracted landscape painters. He uses titanium white, cadmium yellow light, cadmium orange, there it is again, cadmium red light, alizarin crimson, viridian, which I don't think I've ever owned true viridian. It's a blue-green, ultramarine blue, which is the more reddish blue, burnt sienna, and yellow ochre. And then he goes on to say, tone down your palette, try using burnt sienna for your red, yellow ochre for your yellow, and ultramarine. So that may be one of the palettes I try today to experiment with. Chroma can be a killer of tonal work, meaning high, bright colors. So we want to use a muted chroma. We're going to gray our colors down oftentimes. So even when I'm using my split primary palette and I want to make more tonalist work, I completely can. I'm just going to be mixing across the color wheel from that color to mute it down, to gray it down, and to brown it down to make it more earthy and subdued. He says, I use a touch of burnt sienna or yellow ochre to take the edge off some of my mixes. And I think what he means by that is to kind of gray them down. So it's kind of fun just to do a little bit of research on your, artists that you like, if you like their work, and see if you can find out a little bit, behind the scenes, how they do it. Michelle and I had a little chat after class last week about the idea of copying some of our favorite artists And it's a fun idea, definitely. And I've definitely done that in the past. It's fun. It's a great way to kind of try to deconstruct how some of your favorite artists are getting their effects. And we did a little bit of that last week with Mrs. Paris, right? And just kind of how does she do the underpainting? How does she layer it up? And kind of that's how we came with our painting. Here's his quote: the whole genre of a more quiet, contemplative, yes, spiritual, if you will, type of painting is something I believe the world needs now more than ever. We live in a mind-numbing world of wealth, poverty, noise, stress, striving, and lack of human concern for others, to the point where we begin to question the future of our kids and grandkids. Art has always had the ability to lift one up. Beauty knows no bounds. And with so much that's wrong with the world now, quiet tonal paintings, I think, are a welcome reminder that the world is still beautiful, serene, and full of wonder. So yeah, a little heavy, but quite nice and well written. See some of his work real quickly. So yeah, you see he does much more abstracted landscapes. I just love the energy and just real creative color palettes in his work. You know, I wouldn't say this is really tonalism because it's such a strong contrast of very vibrant colors, but really nice stuff. Getting a little more on the tonal side there, and then he gets some that are just very, very tonal. Love that. Just really speaks to me. Again, he's not scared of making his horizon line crooked and, you know, making really you know, bottom or sky heavy or ground heavy paintings. So, you know, again, I always preface, you know, his work isn't for everybody, but I'm sure been excited by it for the last couple of years. I find myself looking at his work quite a bit. And then we go to Mr. Maurice Sapiro, whose work is really quite crazy. Again, I put the link, so if you want to see the interview with him, it's actually really, oh no, this is actually some of his images. Some of them are more representational. This is actually really representational for him. And in fact, Susan, the painting you posted this week reminds me of some of his beautiful, just real energetic work. And Michelle, the one you did, you posted last week too, kind of has some of that same feel where I was saying, you know, you can lean in towards the abstraction quite a bit. Some of them really get abstract. And he talks a lot about, he basically just paints until something kind of shows up and the painting kind of reveals itself, which is interesting. I would think there'd be a lot of paintings that don't work out. That one didn't want to pop up. This doesn't have any of his truly abstracted ones, but he sure does have some. Let's see if we go to what I saved on Pinterest here. Yeah, these are all fairly representational of his. But look at that. I mean, without that sailboat, right, to kind of ground us.
Love those.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, really.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah, I'm trying to see if I want to find one of his really like abstract. They're just fun and interesting, and he's very experimental, uses a lot of squeegees and just lots of different tools to make marks. He's definitely painting in, painting out, and his work's all over the place as far as colors and just mark making. I'm not truly a huge fan of all of his work for sure, but I just really respect his willingness to just kind of attack things. I just like, that's really interesting to me. It's very just kind of poetic. So anyways, I grabbed those 3 artists for this week. Oh, and then one thing I thought was interesting that he talks about is he says mixes 3 different grays using proportions of alizarin, crimson, and viridian and white. And then he mixes those into all of his other colors. So that I thought was a really interesting idea. His quote is, I then embarked on trying to represent the intangibles in a tangible presentation. Light, clouds, mist, fogs, glare, haze were all now possible to paint. So thought that was pretty interesting. So anyways, as we're playing and experimenting this week with different colors, I go ahead if it's in you and you're interested at all in more abstracted and looser work, go ahead and do that for this week. So it's a good opportunity to not only experiment with just different palettes that you might not normally use, but also to experiment with different mark making and different levels of energy, in your work. All right, so if you come back down to here, it says for anyone who uses Pinterest to look at art, here's my page of saved images. This one actually just takes you to my paintings, I think, that I've posted. Yeah, so you can ignore that and actually just drop down to the one right beneath it. There's a little dirt road on there. Oh, that's tonalism. So those are all the images I've saved about tonalism, and a couple of my own paintings mixed in for good measure. Even a photo I took of my daughter and her friend at the coast that I've always wanted to paint. Anyway, so lots of that. And let's close that one. So lots that you can look at. Oh, okay, there's one more. So the one that has the Pinterest picture on there, if you go there, it won't do anything evidently. Okay, there it goes. Yeah, so I have, if you go to so I've tried to organize it a little bit into different sections like Edgar Payne or just art, landscape photos, different things. So if you're just like, what, man, I've got like 3, 4, 5 hours right now, I just don't know what to do with myself, jump onto Pinterest and get lost. And so here's mine. It says I have 7,772 pictures that I've saved on Pinterest over the couple years. Again, some of mine, but you can just kind of scroll through there and I don't know why there's so many pictures of me, and just see pictures that inspire me or that excite me, and everything else. My daughter also shares it with me. So if you see, pictures of costumes and different things like that, she's really into a lot of that stuff. Yeah. So anyways, oh, and there's a whole section on just different colors, palettes, and different things like that. When I'm having a hard time deciding on a color palette, I can just go, I have a whole section of just different colors. I'll look through those and see, would that work for the painting that I'm working on? Or does it, maybe just a couple of the colors, even rugs and different print designs and stuff where I just love the color combinations. So that's what's really nice about Pinterest, is just the ability to go through and grab anything and everything that excites you. I don't even have to know why it excites me. I'll just grab it by just saying save. And then if I push save, oh, I already just saved it to there. And then you can create folders, organize it. It's just a great way. So then when I'm having a hard time, like if I've got a design, but I don't know what colors to use, or I don't even, I can just get onto my page and look through my 7,772 different photos or references I've gathered, and just see if any of that thing kind of sparks something, the next step. Yeah, I grabbed a whole bunch of black and white photos that I just really loved the abstraction. Like, look at this vase casting the shadow. So interesting and so odd to me. And then what happens is you pop that up, then all of a sudden Pinterest suggests all these other things that it thinks like, well, if you like that, then you'll probably also like this. So then that'll take you away from my page. But you can just really jump down the rabbit hole that way. I'm just trying to see what else, just different artists that I like, a bunch of mine. Yeah, even I was taking like different poses in different scenes like this and seeing what could I do to turn this into a tree, or what could I do to turn this into an abstracted painting. And there's just lots of just strange and beautiful photos of people in movement, and yeah. So anyways, just a different way to look for inspiration for you if you're ever look at those beautiful, beautiful colors. Cool painting too. Yeah, I'm almost then like, all right, class is dismissed. I'm totally sucked back into my Pinterest page here, and I can just look at this and just Yeah, lots of fun. You can see I go through different areas where all of a sudden I'm into Japanese brush mark making, and I'll just grab hundreds of those, and all of a sudden I'm back into the dancers again, and movement and flow and different things like that. Imagine this as a tree off the side of a cliff, right? Really working with balance, and so on and on and on and on and on it goes. So anyways, if that's anything that's interesting to you, have fun, and sorry for wasting your day as you get lost and fully
No,
fill that
no,
up.
it's great.
Yeah.
Thank you
All
for
right.
introducing me.
It didn't look like Kate was able to make it to class this week, but look at how that painting ended up. Evidently, she watched the video and heard my very mean and rough critique on her and made the changes, and it is so much better. Maybe I could just say now it's more finished, because I don't know where she was because we were unable to talk with her. But Kate, when you watch this, so proud of you. Way to just go back in, make the changes, and I hope you love it, because I sure think it's just so much better now, and really nice. If you remember, she had this group of trees was her darkest darks, and just wasn't a great sense of depth and movement through the piece. It felt like the top and the bottom were two different paintings, and boy, is it cohesive now. It's interesting. It has a much better sense of movement and direction. So great job, Kate. All right, Michelle, how you doing? Saw you're here. So there's your reference. Very, very nice. There's your underpainting. Very nice. Tell us a little bit about your about this process, please.
Well, I was hoping, I was trying to get the whole value, this more of a value study there, using the limited, trying to go for a high key with that brownish being my darkest. And then though at the end of it, well, then when I went to do it, I tried with a glaze first. I think I used a light blue, and then just kept painting and trying to get the look, but it doesn't have the toneless feel that I wish it did.
Oh,
I don't know what to do from here. Just call it okay for now and move on to the next one.
It's completely up to you. I mean, it's a nice painting. You've got, just like I was showing with those dancing figures and stuff, you've got this nice movement. You're good with that with your loose brushwork and stuff. So it has a nice shape, a nice movement, and the colors work well. I mean, it really recedes back into space with the gray, blues, and everything falling back behind these warm browns want to come forward. And then you've done a nice job of bringing the darks forward. So, I mean, you fully have my permission to call this one a success and done if you'd like. I don't see a whole lot that I would really suggest. But if you wanted to make it a tonalist piece, after it's dry, you can always glaze back into it with whatever color again, if you wanted to really harmonize and bring the colors closer together. That's completely up to you. Yeah, anybody else have any ideas or thoughts on that?
It's a little glary on the top, the greens up there.
Yeah, I know. We all have that issue. I tried taking photos, all 13 photos that I sent to the gallery yesterday. I had to apologize for every single one I sent them. So I love it when it's an overcast day outside. That's the best weather for photographing the work. Get it outside on an overcast day, but unfortunately it's just beautiful and sunny here in Oregon, so makes it really difficult to photograph. So if it's an overcast day, that's my fault. I ordered it and I'm out photographing my work. So I think it's really nice. It really reads
love it,
well.
Michelle.
Yeah, your depth reads really quite well. You could probably blue Haystack Rock itself down just a touch. It's as warm, or if not even warmer than a lot of the foreground, but it doesn't bother me. You've done this kind of almost nice framing device here. Look at how this circular shape here keeps us in. It doesn't like shoot us off the side. So it kind of keeps us in this area. And then you continue that circular shape up, and then it kind of grabs back into the top of here. So nice. It kind of keeps your eye moving, and yeah, well played.
Thank you.
Oh, Kate posted another one. Kate, hopefully a high key painting. Has anyone noticed that there are two value scales? Yes, I know it's very confusing. Some that the white is 1 and some the white is black. I prefer to say white is 1. It just makes sense with my brain, but I am dyslexic, so maybe that's backwards for everybody else. I don't know. But you know, you can say whatever you want. So 1 with 1 as the darkest and 10 as the lightest, and then in the reverse, 1 is the lightest and 10 is darkest. Yeah. And then she, oh, good, she agrees. 1 the lightest and 10 the darkest makes more sense to me. Anybody else think that 1 being the darkest makes more sense just mentally? Michelle does.
If I think of it in terms of a piano key and the low notes and left to right, counting left to right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and low notes on the keyboard they're not numbered, but that's just left to right is, I don't know, low and low to high on a piano keyboard when I think of low to high key.
Yeah, but couldn't you just flip your value scale over? Yes, that's true. Anyways, what did she say? High key painting. I would say this is definitely in the higher key, right? I mean, there are some darks, but they're definitely not near as dark. Again, just letting our eyes skim to the edge of the picture here, and you see the darks of the monitor. Nothing is even approaching as dark as this. So definitely kept it at least in a tight key range. I really like this. What I wrote, oh, wow, such beautiful restraint in this. I love it. And I think these higher key, you know, mid to high key paintings, there's a difficult restraint. I don't know if you guys experienced that when you were painting yours, but for me, I always want to push something. I always want to darken something, either to make it the focal point, to make it more interesting, to bring it forward in perspective. I often find the mid to high key paintings feel hazier, lighter, a little more washed out, which, you know, in photography can sometimes be bad, but there's a beauty to them and a restfulness to them often that I really like. Also often reminds me of, well, fog or more of a wintry scene. But I think this is beautiful. I think there's definitely a nice restraint, beautiful use of actually a lot of color in here. All kept within the same values. And that's really, you know, something to strive for all of us. So nicely played, Kate. 2 for 2. You're killing it. Sorry you're not here. All right, Renita, very nice. This is so fun. And did you really paint this with your grandkids? Oh, can't hear you, sorry.
No, but I started out with a mother color and then the oranges are my grandkids and they kind of took over.
Oh, I see what you mean. I took you literally like that. You're just like, let me paint, Grandma, and they, you know, got in there, and you're just, yeah. That's funny. Yes, it's a very nice painting. It's got as far as going towards tonalism, I would say no. But it's gorgeous. It's beautiful, and I don't know if you've ever heard of the Fauvists. It's I think they were German painters, yeah. And which, don't take any offense, Fauvism I think means wild beast, and they were very pure and vibrant with their colors and played with a lot of extremes like green and orange. You know, they're both secondary colors, but they're pretty much, you know, pretty far apart on the color wheel, and it makes a high drama very exciting. You've also got red and green, which are across from each other on the color wheel. So if you have a color wheel, or if you've ever made one, or you can look one up, a lot of times with tonalism, I will kind of keep most of my colors, not all of them, but most of the colors on my painting kind of closer to each other on the color wheel. I might let a couple of them, you know, get a little more wild and play. But I like this. I think there's a lot of energy here. I'm not a purist at all. I know our class is called tonalism and everything else, but I'm just more excited to make a pretty painting with pretty, you know, colors and everything else. And I would say this is a success. I really like it. There's a lot of nice, interesting energy and brush marks and everything else. But if we were to go back, is this for last week's assignment? Okay. So yeah, the mother color, you can see how you greatly diverged, you know, your grandkids and maybe even your great grandkids got into this one. And that's fine, but yeah, I think it does branch off pretty wildly. There's big color jumps. You basically got every color in here besides, well, you even have yellow. So yeah, you've got yellow, orange, red, no purple. All right, good. Green, blue. You've got, you know, you're all over the place as far as the color wheel. And then the other thing would be, is it high key, mid key, or low key, or full value range in your opinion?
It's almost full value, but not quite.
Agreed. Yeah, not quite, but yeah. So, you know, if you want to play with, you know, staying in the rule set a little bit this week, you know, you'll still get another chance at it, but don't be mad at this painting, because you know what, sometimes the painting, you'll start out with one idea in mind and end with a completely other idea in mind. And I like to have a conversation with my painting. You know, I'll usually start with something, some reference, just like I showed you on Pinterest, some color scheme, some whatever. But
This
you
is
know,
Fernwood Reserve.
what's that?
That's Fernwood Reserve
Very
out
beautiful.
by Forest Grove. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I know. Okay, great. That's funny. I was actually going to go out there last weekend with my wife and go check it out. My grandma, who just turned 99 last week, lives out there. Yeah, she's still kicking butt. She's amazing. So anyways, beautiful painting. Does it follow the rules? You know, the idea, not exactly, but you know what? Again, have fun with your paintings. It's more important that you just keep painting and you just keep experimenting and you just keep playing. And again, I love the idea of having a conversation with my painting and just like, you know, how does this feel painting? Oh, that's too much. Oh, you need more. Oh, you know what I mean? And just, yeah, just talk with your painting, feel it out, have fun, and do another one. And then do it again and again and again, forever and ever. And that's a good life. All right, I reposted this one for Leslie. Is Leslie here? Not seeing everybody on my page. There you
Yes,
are,
I'm
Leslie.
here.
All right, wow, Leslie, I'm so glad you let me know to turn it for you. It's reposted sideways somewhere down there. And
I don't know why that happened, and I'll talk to you offline about how to make
oh
sure.
no, it's super easy. So did you take it with your camera? Your
Uh,
phone?
yes, I took it with my phone vertically.
You did take it vertically, so that's
I
interesting.
did, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I
wow.
don't know why it turned sideways, but then once it was on Facebook, I could not find the little lever that allows you to turn the painting. Nowhere.
I don't
So,
think you can do that on Facebook. You'd
See-
have to do it in your phone. And that's what I
Right.
did. I actually just came to our Facebook page really quickly and I just did a screen grab. Like, you know, I don't know what the two buttons are. It's like the power button and the volume button at the same time. And it does a screen grab or takes a photo of whatever's on your
Right.
thing. And then I just pushed the edit button in my photos. I saved it to
Right.
my photos, did the edit, and just turned it there. I also cropped out a little bit of your extraneous stuff there. You can still see like your clips, but really, really beautiful. Really,
Well, to me, what's satisfying about this painting, and it's not done yet, is that I tried to follow the value system with, you know, your verticals being dark, which is partly why the mountain is dark, but the mountain was dark in the photo and I wanted it to follow that anyway.
sure.
And then I tried to figure out mid values and mid darker values. And then with the tonalist side of it, I decided instead of making this very vivid, which is what's in the photo, I would dial down all the colors to more fall colors. And so that's sort of what, you know, the road and the hill behind the cattle and then the hill above the hill are all designed to do. But it was a photo of aspens in the fall. which is what I think makes the painting interesting and dynamic. And so
Yeah.
I had to put those in there.
Good for
I
you.
mean, I just could not put them in there. This is not quite done. And what I would say is the road where the little tree is on the left side of the painting, I'm going to put dark grasses at intervals along that road, partly to make the road lighter, but also partly to give more definition to where that's going. But what was really fun, and I didn't know whether I could do it because I've never done it before, is could I make this bunch of cattle look like cattle, but have them be the darkest darks? And so what I did is I used Frisket, which you guys don't use, and highlighted all their hip bones. And then I painted all the dark in, and then I took the Frisket off and I got this wonderful pattern, which does say cattle. So that's what I did.
Yeah, I really like it. I mean, it's almost beautifully decorative. Like I could see this in, you know, in a lot of like lodge type cabin.
Yeah.
You know, it's really nice. I mean, I don't know if that's the cows or the setting or what, but it's also the color scheme that everything is very beautifully harmonious. I mean, you've got your earthy colors, and then you've got these kind of light greens, and then the oranges, and they all play beautifully together. And even the grays in your mountain, kind of purpley grays, they all just, they really do. They play so well together that they feel like they're in the same world. And, you know, I know it's difficult when you get these really beautiful, vibrant colors sometimes to subdue them a little bit to make the harmony, but man, hats off. And yeah, your cows look great. I never for a second was wondering what those were. But
Well,
I also spend I've done it a time or two, help my sister. She lives on a ranch in Montana, and helped her take the cows up into the mountains. And so I know this scene well.
well, the thing I would say that I came out of this with is that you were talking about grays. I have decided I'm either going to pre-mix 3 different grays, or I'm going to buy a couple of tubes of watercolor that have a light gray, a medium gray, and I can mix a dark gray. And because this thing works because of the grays in it, but trying to get, if you use up, you guys have paint and you can mix more paint, or you can, you can mix them up a bigger batch of paint. But what I do is I mix up puddles. And if I've used the puddle up, but I need the color later, like I walk away and I come back later, it's almost impossible to get it back to the color that you used originally. So I've decided that's so important to me that I'm going to try to buy some grays where I know I have a consistent light and mid gray to make the painting work better.
That's great. And that's actually good advice for all of us, because there are beautiful grays. You know, I love my Payne's gray, which is a really dark gray. And then if you're using Gamblin brands, or I mean, all brands have beautiful grays, but Gamblin has their warm gray. I think it's called warm Portland gray and cool Portland gray, and they have a neutral gray. And I have found myself squeezing out some grays onto my palette from time to time. And again, it's just kind of like you're just talking about, to create a sense of harmony and everything else. So yeah, I think that's really smart of you.
Thank you for your
nice
critique. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and nice movement. I mean, you got these fun lines that are really do kind of, you know, move us through the piece. Be careful when you bring in the darks. I'm not even sure if they're so necessary, because it definitely reads.
Well, they
apart.
won't be on that bottom road. They'll be on the top road where the little tree is, right along there, so that it brings you around the curve a little more. And because that gray is not the right color gray, it should be lighter. And so if I put some dark grasses up here, just to where the right of where your little finger is, if you move that across the road, if I put some darker right in there, grasses in there, that will make the gray seem lighter as opposed to as dark as it is.
Gotcha.
And I'm going to lift it too. I'm going to take some water and lift some of the color out.
All right. Well, good ideas. And yeah, super fun to have a watercolorist in the class. You're very brave. Nicely done. All right, Linda, I saw you. There you are. How you doing, Linda?
I'm doing good.
Good. I've enjoyed your photos this week. Very nice. Always fun to see. If you're not friends with Linda, you should be, because she posts her sunrise walks daily pretty much, and they're so great. All right, Linda, I'm proud of you. You took on the challenge of doing the 4 different value keys here. What did you think? What was your experience?
Well, I loved using the scale that you gave, how you had it all lined up where, you know, how it should flow. And that's what I used. And I didn't, in one of the previous paint, I didn't even know who did this. I copied somebody's in one of the photographs that you gave in the Tonalist work.
Yeah.
And this was green. Everything was green. And I didn't try to finesse the trees to be pretty and to make anything, you know, like look like a painting. All I wanted to do was get the values that you asked for, you know, the things that you asked for. And I hope I did that.
You did 100%. A+ for you, Linda. Nice job. Yeah, and did you think that's going to be useful in your future paintings, just having that kind of knowledge and this to draw back
Oh,
on?
yeah. Oh, perfect. It was so good. And I'm going to have my husband, somehow we're going to make a copy of that for me, because I just used it on my phone. I took a copy of it from the screen so I could look at it while I was painting to see what I was supposed to use, you know.
Mhm.
And I really enjoyed the whole endeavor of doing that, the scales that way. And I showed a picture. I don't have my big palette. When I moved here, my big glass palette got broken.
Mhm.
So it was like, I don't know, half an inch thick almost. It was very heavy, and I lay it on top of my desk, and but it got broken in the move. So I bought a gray plate, and I had a gray cloth under my glass. So, you know, I had basically a gray palette to work on.
Yeah,
But
I saw that.
so I went to the dollar store and bought a gray plate so I'd have something to mix paint on.
All right. Do you have a Bed Bath and Beyond near you anywhere?
I may. It's sort of kind of. Yeah,
So,
that's my
my suggestion for wonderful palettes is
Uh-huh.
Bed Bath and Beyond. They come in like 3 different sizes, and they're a tempered glass for, you know, cutting boards.
yeah.
And
Oh,
basically,
how neat.
yeah, and so they're tempered glass. They have rounded edges. They're not half an inch thick, so they don't weigh 100 pounds.
Yeah.
In fact, that palette that I use, that I put up on the easel every week when I'm painting up there, that's a Bed Bath and Beyond palette. And on the cutting side of the palette is texture, right? So your
Yeah.
knife and things you don't slide everything off. So what I
Right.
do, Linda, and everybody else, is I simply take that cutting board and flip it upside down. And on the other underside of it, it's perfectly smooth. It has little
Okay.
rubber feet, and I just knock those off with my palette knife. And
Yeah.
then on the textured side, I actually paint that a neutral gray. You can
Oh,
use
wow.
acrylic paint, you can use oil paints. I've spray painted them with go to the store and get a neutral gray spray paint, and I will just spray the backs of them. I do that same thing with the palettes that I use in my plein air boxes. I just go and have plexiglass cut, and I just paint the
Yeah.
underside of them gray. So that's especially if you're like me and you get every single darn day a 20% off Bed Bath and Beyond coupon in your
Yeah.
email.
Yeah.
They're pretty inexpensive, and you do get a pack of 3, I think. So you get a smaller, like 8x10, probably a 12x16, and then a big one, like a 16x20, I think
Oh,
it is.
good.
So that's a great way to solve, and if you go and get actual glass cut, it's expensive and it's heavy, and it oftentimes you have to pay extra to get beveled, rounded edges.
Right.
And boy, does that
Yes.
glass want to cut you.
It sure does.
So yeah, that's a way that I've done that a couple times. Anyways, here's your gray plate. I don't know if you saw my comment. I wrote, looks delicious, like the remnants
Yeah.
of chocolate mud
Yeah.
pie.
I love
remember
chocolate mud pie.
Yeah, when I was growing up, our neighbor always made me a chocolate mud pie for any special occasion, and my parents were healthy, brand people. So it was always a great treat to have chocolate mousse and whipped cream and graham crackers or whatever she made. I don't even remember. I was pretty young, but I still remember. And that was my first thought when I saw that. That's what it looked like at the end of my plate. So very nice. And yeah, what a great idea. And I'm glad you got the gray plate and everything else. And you know what? Necessity is, really leads us to some very creative solutions. So nicely done. And Linda, you got your paintings here. These are kind
Oh my
of
God.
through the last couple weeks, it looks like.
Yes.
So this was our 4 values: lightest in the sky, mid, number 3, and then your darks is number 4. All in all, I would say success in, getting after the idea of it. What were your thoughts on this? Did that make sense to you, doing the 4 values? And
Yes, it made sense. And I just, I don't do edges very well, as you can see. They're all kind of wavy, but I just to myself said, well, a boat just went by, so that's okay.
there you go. There you go.
So,
No
but
problem.
I love the 4. I love the concept of the mother color and then adding that to your paints in
So
that.
did
and
you do
that's-
that with this?
I did that with
Wow.
this.
Nice.
So I don't know if it shows, but I have a little gray in everything.
Very nice. Yeah, no, I mean, it definitely has a nice harmony. And, if I squint my eyes, it reads really well. Yeah, nicely done. Let's see what else you got here. Ooh, boy.
Oh my Lord,
right.
oh my Lord, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. It puts my eyes out, but yesterday, the last class we had, and you said it was sunny there. It was like it was Oregon here. It was like it was, like I was in Oregon here. It was storming the whole class. Wind was blowing, things were blowing over in the yard. And when I stepped out, everything was covered in mist and fog. The
Oh,
mountains
boy.
I could barely see. So, and then yesterday, the sky was basically like this in many places, just crazy clouds and color. It was amazing, amazing. But I didn't do well with the 4 things here. And I went back and put this light stuff in. I should not have. I don't know why I did that.
By light
I have
stuff,
no
being
idea.
kind of the fog on the
Yeah,
ground. a little bit.
fog, yeah. And
Yeah.
that tree, that poor little pitiful tree. I don't know what's wrong with me in trees. I can't make trees well right now for some reason.
Well,
I don't know.
because you live in the land of cactuses. So
Yeah.
no, I'm just kidding. But what's falling apart here in your tree, just really quickly, is your lights compared to your darks. Even the lights on a tree on an upright will generally not be nearly as light as like the sky or anything like that, unless it's a very, very yellow, bright tree. But if this is a green tree, it's just going to be a lighter green. It's going to be, you take some of the color from here and you influence it into the greens over here. But you wouldn't bring like that yellow to here, because it, if you squint your eyes, you almost lose this side of the tree. It just kind of disappears because it's the same value and almost the same color as your background. I don't want to be too harsh on this painting, but yeah, it's not your most successful one. And part of that is that the bottom and the top almost don't relate. It almost feels like this cool color here. It'd be nice to kind of tie it in. And I liked your description and your working process, because it perfectly describes kind of what's happening. It's here. It's like a moody painting, and then all of a sudden it gets to the cool, like there's fog and atmosphere, and then all of a sudden, boom, you've got this bright sky. And they just don't quite play nicely together. What you can do is darken the tree a little bit, bring back, and you could glaze into this and create kind of a more harmonious color feel if you wanted to. Or just, move on, learn your lesson a little bit. And, all paintings are worth something. Our successes, but even more importantly, our less than successes. And we can definitely learn a lot from those. And you just say, what's working, why? What's not working, why? Okay, let's do more of what's working, less of what's not working. Let's, so I I've shown you guys lots and lots of bad paintings. I've wiped off some of the paintings after class is over. You know, I just keep painting and hopefully, you know, keep learning. It seems like some lessons I have to learn over and over. Some of them I feel like I have to learn monthly. You know, the lessons come, and just like in life, most valuable lessons don't come easy, right? We've gotta get pinched a little bit.
I've been practicing cutting my brushes up to make them all kind of losing like holes in them,
There
so
you
I
go,
can
yeah.
make better grass.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's kind of fun to just have these different ways
It
of
is.
making texture, isn't it? All
Yeah.
right, great. I
And
remember
this
this.
was one of the, it was a black and white, and like the other one was a black and white, and I don't know why I painted it those colors. I have no idea.
That's all right. Nice colors. My first instinct to this is that your grasses are almost your lightest because they're all pretty much white on the tops.
Yeah, yeah,
So I would probably either paint over that or glaze over that with whatever color and just darken those down a little bit, because yeah, the ground doesn't quite want to lay down. It's with that 4 value thing. If we we're just contemplating that a little
Right.
bit, it's losing that, right? And I know this tree is
Right.
glare. It's probably much darker than it appears in the photo, but
Yeah.
you have a little bit of darks along the bank here. Um,
okay.
yeah, if you just darken this grass up so that it's, you know, a value or 2 darker than the sky, it'll help a ton.
I introduced some greens in here because I tried and then I said, oh, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah,
I sort of
so
freaked out.
yeah, that's fine. They don't bother me, but yeah, I would like to see this painting again, if you don't mind, after you've covered the grasses a little bit.
Okay,
With a little bit of darkening, and I bet you what will happen is all of a sudden things will begin to make sense. Again, if we go
Okay.
back to this painting, see how this is, you know, it's quite light, but it's still darker than your sky. Again, if we
Yeah.
squint our eyes, it feels cohesive and it feels grounded, whereas this one doesn't. It feels floaty and kind of, you know, things are just kind of moving around on me. I don't know
Okay.
that you guys get that, but that's how kind of when I see landscapes where things aren't quite working, they just don't, they're not grounded. I'm using my hands to show you that even though I'm not on screen, but
Yeah,
I'm just kind of, you know, taking
it
my
needs, it
hands
needs to
flat.
come down.
Just what you did
Yeah.
there. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, it needs to come
So,
down.
makes it come down, makes it feel grounded, and not airy. I like my sky to feel like sky, my rocks to feel like rocks, my trees to feel like trees, and everything else like that. Oh, here's some of your photos. Great. Thank you for sharing those.
And
Beautiful
I'm going,
colors.
I want to post some of yesterday's photos and some of the when the mountains were all in the mist. And they were so absolutely gorgeous. It just, the mist and the fog, and it was rain. It was like soft rain, and then it would be hard rain. And I walked an hour and a half in all of that cold rain. It was so beautiful. I was just entranced. But
Oh,
this
man.
is just like the evening after, and it was all no clouds, and it was all pinky and soft and blue and just
I
amazing.
adore these transitions, like this subtle gradation. I mean, it's almost
Yeah.
greenish comparatively up here, right? It kind of has a
Right.
grayish green and goes down towards the yellows and then the pinks and then the purples and then the blues, but it's
Yeah.
just seamless. It's just this slow gradation. Yeah, these are colors I would love to have in some of my paintings. And then,
Michael?
bam.
If you were to go back to that sky and imagine that you were painting it, what would you put as your background underpainting?
Depends on what I wanted. If I wanted a more electrified kind of feel, I could do a reddish background and paint over the top of that. I might just use my white and try and mix up the nice colors, because then I don't have spots, you know, showing through, because it is just a nice, real smooth gradation. You know, you could do this more impressionistic and work out, you know, just have broken color and going up. But I think to create this feeling, you'd want a real smooth. So I would almost probably put like a band of blue, a band of pinky purple, a band of more yellow, and a band of more green. And then I would bind those edges a little bit, something like that. So anyways, very nice.
And guys, this mountain, if you look at the tops of that mountain, if you go back to it, you see the pink reflected in it, like the sunset. This is the sunset looking east. And the sky, to me, is sometimes more beautiful in the east than it is in the west, because it catches all of that rosy, pinky
Uh-oh, what's
color
missing?
on the tops of the mountain. And this mountain here to the left is Newman Mountain, like Paul Newman Mountain. That's what we call it, but it's just Newman. But this mountain
Paul
is
Newman Mountain.
actually about 35, 40 miles away from me. So that's
Wow.
how far we can see. And the bump over on the right-hand side, lower right, right in there, that is the precursor to Picacho Peak. And Picacho Peak stories have been written about that mountain. It's a beautiful mountain, but it looks like that big puma cat that I'll photograph a lot in my pictures. You'll see it. It looks like a big mountain lion or something.
So cool. So Linda, if anybody wants to borrow stuff from
Yep.
your photos, they have permission?
They have permission to use any of them that I post.
Just, I mean, let's look at all these transitions really quickly. I mean, look how vibrant and bright and fiery, and very quickly it gets up to this beautiful pale greeny gray. It's still got some orange. I mean, these are difficult things to do. Sometimes, like in painting, sometimes it almost needs to be done in glazes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can just mix these perfect transitions. Really nice. I love this. I mean, it's not a overly vibrant kind of a almost I don't know what you call that. It leans towards yellow, but it has a touch of kind of a salmon to it, and then up towards green, and then finally towards more of a blue green at the top. And yeah, just it's so fun to just see these transitions. So thank you for sharing them. Yeah, there's
And-
the purples and the
and-
mountains and the red.
Yeah, this
foam
is Catalina Mountains in Tucson,
there.
and that's like 60 miles away.
Hmm.
Can you imagine?
Mhm.
Now these mountains are like within 5 miles of me. That it's
Okay.
the part of the Silver Bells. And it's beautiful to watch the sun go behind them. Oh. And that's Newman Mountain again. And that's Picacho Peak from my angle, Picacho Peak. But it's real pointy and jagged when you look at it from the front. And that's an old mesquite tree that's in my yard.
Do people paint
probably-
mesquite trees much in your area? That looks like a lot of work to. If you're
I
trying to
know.
photorealistically, that's a lot of little dashes.
I wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't either. Anyways, thank you so much for sharing those. Let's see. And there's your underpainting. I hate to say it, but I like this quite a bit more than where it ended up.
I do too.
So sorry about that, but you know, that's how we learn.
No, it doesn't even upset me.
Got to sacrifice some of our babies to the, you know, painting gods, I guess.
know. Yeah.
They're,
The black and white on the right, my husband doesn't want me to put color on it. He likes it. But
There you go.
I toned it down, and I changed I changed it. I don't know if I posted that, but I took off almost all of the Queen Anne's lace. I changed it a little bit.
nicely played. There's that. And oh, see, this has
And
such
that
nice harmony to it. Man, you posted a lot of pictures this week.
Well, and those were from these were from our first paintings that we did.
Right. Great job. Nice harmony. Yeah, you're coming along great.
I want to do another wipeout painting.
You want to?
Yeah, I want to try another one.
Cool. That is amazing. Oh, okay. So we're on your page. That's why
It's-
we're so many of your pictures popping up. We're on your page here.
Yeah, yeah. And that's me
Okay.
when I was 21. Oh, God.
Sorry, I missed it. Susan, what do you got to say for yourself, young lady? Oh,
Thank you for calling me young,
yeah, yeah.
being 74. Okay, I have a hard time taking it with my cell phone. It doesn't, this is it.
There
Working.
you go. Oh, yeah, that's beautiful.
Okay, so I went on Facebook and used your resources. I wasted like 2 days looking for something that motivated me. And then I am truly motivated by the muted paintings. And when I saw this, within a second, I knew I had to replicate it. And I didn't put the canoe in with the person fishing, but I loved, is my values that I named right, correct? Let's see. Did you get my post?
I'm not sure I'm seeing that.
Oh boy.
Doesn't say anything above it. So why don't you just tell us? What do you think?
I can't remember, but I can't find my value chart. I've looked
I'm
on
gonna
my,
say it's mid to dark.
I think that's what I put. I think I may be wrong. If I could get in to see the value chart here. You don't see the post because I even said twice I posted that. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah, you say low key. Yeah, low key value range. It's over here in the comments.
is that incorrect?
No, that's right.
Oh, okay. That means I'm learning something. Okay. I also believe
A
in,
plus.
oh, thank you, Michael. I also felt I said I liked the muted tones, and I also felt that I didn't know if I could do this in different values like some of the people are doing because it's so muted.
But you did, and it definitely has a harmony. And I want to compliment you. I'm noticing this interesting kind of change in your style over the last couple months.
Oh. Okay.
You're getting a little more on the loose and abstracted side.
Oh, really? Okay.
And
Yeah.
just say that you're doing it on purpose because I really like it. And I think it's really interesting. You've got kind of an innate poeticness to your paintings lately.
Oh, thank
and
you.
I don't know if it's because you're using bigger brushes and you're just less fussy.
No. Maybe that's because I painted with OSA and Dorothy for 12 years and everything was so tight and realistic, and you've
Right.
gotten me to paint loosely.
Mm-hmm.
But I loved doing this. I really enjoy doing this. I think it's so important to paint something you like because I struggled with finding something I like. I don't want to seem like I'm okay. I don't know how do you get on Pinterest? Because I love your examples.
I think you would just go to your search bar when you were done with class
Okay.
and go to Pinterest, or you can go straight from that Facebook page.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know if you have to sign up to look at things on Pinterest.
I don't know.
I think you only have to sign up if you want to make your own Pinterest page where you want to copy and say
I'm not
things.
high technology, but first of all, I wanted to say everybody's paintings in behalf of everyone, they really were beautiful. Even Linda's paintings, I thought they were so whimsical and they could actually, frankly, be enjoyed that way, kind of not art, being technical about it, but they were so whimsical and enjoyable. I loved them. And then of course,
Linda's personality comes through in her paintings for sure.
yeah, and I love Michelle's.
It's the kid.
She was my fan club. I gotta put my name on her list too. I'm her fan club.
Oh, she's on the phone. You'll have to tell her later.
Oh, all right. But anyhow,
All right, well,
yeah,
don't get
I love-
distracted. Don't take the focus off you. This is your time here.
Oh, I don't know what to say. I'm holding the painting because I don't think it photographs well, but
Yeah, and I think I do like that version a little better. It looks even a little cooler and grayer. And
I know, and
it's beautiful. Either
okay,
way.
what about the horizon line? I thought later on, after I painted this, it's still kind of wet. I thought, oh God, Michael's gonna kill me. Is the horizon line dark enough where it segregates the sky from the water and landscape?
Yes.
Truthfully. Oh, good.
Yeah,
Okay.
no,
Phew.
I
Okay.
like it. Again, I think you might enjoy looking at Mr. Shapiro's work. I
Okay.
showed you some of his.
Yeah, I loved it.
It's a little more abstracted. It is definitely about atmosphere and color, and
Okay.
even though there's a lot of harmony in there. So I don't want to sway you. I don't want to tell you, what your style is or what you're leaning towards, but I definitely am feeling a looser, more abstracted work, and I personally,
Okay.
at least, am
Okay, well,
feeling more of a connection to it now than when you did your real tight, rendery, fussy stuff.
sure. I know I'm a blender, but this I was more loose. But needless to say, in behalf of Linda's beautiful Arizona skies, you should have seen the sky in Portland 2 days ago. I couldn't figure out how to catch it. I don't know if you saw it, Michael. I was coming out of Washington Square and the traffic was heavy, but I couldn't believe nature made colors like that. So there, Linda, we've got pretty skies too.
We do, yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, I've been trying to capture the sunset each evening, but I have like the second to newest iPhone, and it should take better photos than it does. I'm always kind of disappointed with the colors, so it's
Okay.
a little bit of mental photos and camera photos and everything else. But
Well, I won't take any more of your time. Thank you for your input, and then your feedback's been interesting. On to your next victim.
Yep. Back to our dessert plate.
I'm shy.
All right, Richard. Do you like Rick or Richard?
Well, that one, you told me, well, you told all of us to go out and do some photographs. And I went at Thursday morning at sunrise between Salem and Silverton. And
Oh, yeah, beautiful area.
went through all the farm fields there. And I did this yesterday afternoon. I was originally going to do it as a vertical, then a square, then a horizontal. Couldn't make up my mind, so I finally went with this, and I'm fairly pleased with it.
I'll show you something really quick. I used it as our header, and it looks really great as a horizontal too,
Right.
really cropped off. I mean, that's just beautiful as well. But yeah, I think it works great as a horizontal. And what happens with horizontals versus verticals a lot of times is horizontals oftentimes feel a little more relaxing. Again, it's that kind of laying down of things.
Right.
Just so I think this works because it feels very relaxing. This is a really beautiful piece. It's kind of interesting. I actually took a class on giving feedback and critiques to students, and they told me specifically, do not compare your students' work to other professional, living artists and stuff like that. But I will tell you what, I looked at this and instantly I was like, oh, it's like a nice, beautiful, subdued Wolf Kahn painting.
Right.
And I love Wolf Kahn's work, but a lot of his is so vibrant that it gets kind of too garish for me. But I love the colors. You've got a real nice harmony. Everybody's playing really well together. Everything lays down. It's nice and quiet and harmonious, and I really like it. Yeah,
Thank you.
all the colors work well together. Definitely on a mid to high key. Well, probably more mid key, huh? Mid to high, probably.
Yeah.
But without any whites or anything. So yeah, very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, hats off. All right, Kate's not here, but if we kept scrolling down, we would see her first version of this, which had some interesting things going on in the grasses being really red and stuff. This also just has a great harmony. I mean, it feels like a complete painting. It's like a beautiful note about a scene and just beautiful gradation in the sky, and very nice job, Kate. Another one. Linda's photos again there. There's that one. And all right, Richard, I knew you had another one. This is your high key painting, if I remember right.
Yes, I took that the same morning, a photograph of that. I felt the barn might be a little too dark, but I don't know.
I mean, it works because it becomes the focal point.
Right.
Everything else is quiet. And if we turn this into black and white, or if you just squint your eyes pretty hard at it, it's really quite light in value. It's just the vibrancy of the red is what makes it appear more,
Right.
intense. And it doesn't bother me. I actually really like this. It's a tough one because, yeah, this would definitely probably work as a full key, full value range painting, I'm sure. But this just gives it a whole different effect. It adds to kind of a atmosphere and a bit of a haze and everything else. It almost even, to get a little poetic on you here, it almost feels like a memory.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that was, I had taken the photograph and it was full range and I just crunched it all down to a smaller value range.
yeah, that's a great way to do it. Is just to do it on your phone or on your computer, is just to kind of change your values there. And then, yeah, I like it. It reads well, it plays well. Your sky is beautiful. Yeah, what did you think of that challenge of having your condensed values?
This particular one there that you used for the cover, that was pretty easy to do, but the high value was really difficult.
Sure. Yeah. I rarely do high key paintings. I really do enjoy the challenge of it, but I
Right.
find them very difficult to sell. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
They will hang on the walls for quite a while. I think it's just because they don't have that punchy interest. People almost just kind of probably don't even see them. You know, if you
Right.
have them on the wall against a bunch of other paintings that are all dynamic and very exciting, I think they become invisible sometimes. I got one of my very first real high key paintings that I did that I loved. It didn't sell for a year, but the gallery had faith in it. You know, they just kept going, no, you know, somebody's going to buy this, is the right one. And a young couple came in that, and it was a big painting, so they spent quite a bit of money on it. And then they went on to buy the other ones as well that were high key. So they definitely had their taste.
Mhm.
And they, you know, they sent pictures of how it looked in their, you know, their whole house was done in grays and more muted colors. And it was very beautiful and very harmonious in their house. So, you know, it was interesting that it just, that it came along and that they found what they were looking for. And, you know, it was nice too, because they even reached out and were like, you know, we've been looking for a long time for something like this and finally found it. So it's an interesting thing. Renita, are you still here again? Where are you? No, sorry, my screen again doesn't show
Yeah,
everybody.
I'm here.
All right, you say corrected. What did you correct here?
Mostly the water line and
Oh,
the
yeah.
plants very front.
Great,
It's beautiful.
lovely, lovely. I always appreciate those of you who take, you know, a little bit of feedback and are willing to go, you know, to go back and revisit it and make those changes. But you know what, if you don't, no big deal either. Just, again, my most important thing for me is that you just keep painting and keep doing. But I oftentimes go back and revisit my paintings. In fact, a number of the paintings that I'll be dropping off at the gallery tomorrow are paintings that I liked but didn't love, and I just kind of took yesterday the morning and grabbed 4 or 5 of them and just said, you know, what would it take to make me, I don't want to say love, but like a lot more these paintings, and just the little shifts here and there. Some of them it was just a matter of glazing in some, you know, different colors. Others it was making the darks darker or the lights lighter or whatever else. But yeah, nicely done.
Thank you.
And then Karen, that's so funny. I don't know. I think Karen's on mute. I don't know if she's with her children right now, but thought that was really funny. Respect the mother. Michael Orwick teaches students about family harmony just in time for the holidays. Aw. Very fun. Very cool. Uh-oh, you have sick kids. Oh, I'm sorry. Hopefully they're feeling better.
I have one on my lap right now, oozing all kinds of stuff. So sorry.
For fun. All right. Yeah, well, that's kind of my memory of having a child, is just a lot of slime. A lot of slime and a lot of sneezing in my face. All right, yeah, there's Kate's previous painting, and you can see that it doesn't quite hold together as nicely as her final one. Just by darkening, cooling down these grasses really made a big change. This is a video for anybody that's interested. I simply just, hopefully it doesn't start playing. I didn't talk much in this. In fact, you could probably just mute it if you're interested at all. I'll just scroll through it because it's 40 minutes long. But you guys saw that underpainting last week. And I just basically almost did like I did with that big abstract, or that big impressionist painting that's behind me. I just kind of used a lot of the same purples and pinks, and just kind of covered most everything. And then you'll see I just leave a little bit of the warmth showing through. Look at that pinky out, delicate touch. Yeah, I don't know if that's interesting for any of you or not, but I thought since I had shown you the beginning of the painting, some of you might want to see kind of how it ended up. So I left it very airy, there's almost no, I don't think there is a single hard edge in the painting. When I showed it to the gallery in the photo, they did not care for it. We'll see. Yeah, it's a whole different kind of a piece, just no hard edges. Maybe that's what it needs, is some focal points and something. But anyways, shared that with you guys. And then there's the painting that we did last week. After class, I just added a couple little bits of color splash of blues and pinks, kind of to make it a little more interesting. I don't think I did much else after class. And there we are. We are caught up. Oops, my camera is falling down there. Great. All right. So that is the halfway point in our class already, an hour and a half. That went fast. You guys have been phenomenally productive. And if you didn't, either turn in or get a chance to paint this week, don't worry about it. We're just going to keep moving forward, keep having fun. And let's take well, it's midway. You guys mind taking a 10-minute break? I'm going to stop the video and we're going to come back and play with color and hopefully have a chance to at least start a painting, make a little demo as well. So I want to do about 2 or 3 different color charts, I guess, not really color charts, but just show you ways I think about colors, and then I'll test the colors. I actually taped a piece of paper to the panel so that I can just experiment on that. And if I had more space up on my easel, I would probably have the painting at the same time, but I'll just show you my thought process on color mixing and using different colors. So let's take a break. I desperately need some warm coffee. I'm drinking very cold old coffee right now. And so I will see you at 10:45, everybody. All right, Karen's son, go get some Kleenex. Just kidding.
He's so cute. He's a
He is so
cutie.
cute. He's so cute.
Michael, real quick before you
Yep.
dehydrate, that painting that I did, this one, I looked on your Facebook page. What is the artist on this? Did I not click on the right click?
I unfortunately am not sure.
Okay, go get your coffee.
All right, if you can find it, maybe, well, I don't know how you would share it. You could post a link to it in the Facebook page or something. I'm not sure.
Oh, no, you go take care of yourself. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.